Modern businesses routinely draft ambitious, high-level mission statements, yet struggle to generate specific digital results. The gap between abstract corporate intention and concrete market outcome is where most initiatives die. Enthusiasm and capital are insufficient on their own. Without a continuous structural path, a project will simply spark out in the void long before it reaches the consumer. This text block provides the baseline definition of organizational strategy, establishing it as a broad-based formula. It serves as the operational blueprint dictating exactly how a business will accomplish its mission, establishing what its goals should be and the policies required to carry them out. E-commerce initiatives routinely collapse because corporate leadership treats them as isolated IT deployments. They approve a software budget and hope the technology will automatically align with their business logic. Surviving digital disruption requires removing this guesswork. A company must engineer a strict mechanical planning system to process market variables. This system relies on three distinct operational phases: strategy initiation, formulation, and implementation. Think of this system as an industrial pipeline. On one end, you have the abstract corporate mission. On the other, precise geometric execution. Achieving successful e-commerce is a structural engineering problem. You have to build the bridge connecting mission to execution before you can deploy the technology. This slide outlines the strategic planning process, beginning with the first bullet point, strategy initiation. This is the initial phase where the organization rigorously examines itself and its surrounding environment. In our structural model, this acts as the initial intake valve. The primary function here is data gathering. The company looks inward at its own capabilities and outward at the state of the market. To sort this incoming data, we apply specific diagnostic tools. This definition describes the SWOT analysis, a methodology that surveys external market opportunities and threats and relates them directly to internal corporate strengths and weaknesses. Inside the initiation block, the SWOT analysis functions as an active four-quadrant mechanical separator. It takes a chaotic stream of raw data and forces it into actionable channels. It isolates the external threats in the web environment from the internal strengths the company possesses. Once that raw data is categorized, we apply a second diagnostic tool, the competitor analysis grid. This grid functions as a secondary scanner. It takes the sorted data points and projects them directly against rival firms, identifying the exact points of market differentiation. Initiation is a strict gathering grid. It ensures only validated environmental data enters the strategic engine. Returning to the strategic planning process, we move to the second bullet point, strategy formulation. The objective here is to develop actual strategies that exploit the opportunities and neutralize the threats identified during the initiation phase. The pipeline now extends from the intake valve into a complex central processing core. This is where broad business logic collides with the highly volatile pressures of the internet and Porter's competitive forces. To navigate this volatility without committing capital blindly, leadership relies on scenario planning. Scenario planning involves actively generating multiple plausible alternative futures based on the data, testing many different responses to market conditions. Inside the formulation block, the data streams enter an algorithmic engine that calculates and projects these distinct branching forward pathways. Decision makers use these calculated futures to ensure that the strategic actions they commit today will actually secure a competitive advantage tomorrow. Formulation serves as the crucial translation layer. It converts raw, passive market data into predictive models that dictate exact corporate action. With the strategy formulated, the process moves into its final phase, strategy implementation. Implementation requires the development of detailed short-term operational plans to actually carry out the formulated projects. We complete the pipeline by connecting the processing core to the final output grid. The first tool used here is the strategy map. As defined by this top bullet point, it is a tool that delineates the precise relationships among key organizational objectives. It ensures that every specific, localized task traces clearly back to a high-level goal. Finally, we apply the ultimate tracking mechanism, the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard assesses progress by measuring actual performance across operational areas against the strategic goals. Together, the strategy map and balanced scorecard cap the pipeline. They create a diagnostic dashboard where paths lock into rigid tracking nodes. Without these exact metrics, there is no mathematical way to verify if the deployment serves the broader company. Implementation anchors abstract, formulated theories into measurable, tracked day-to-day data, continuously proving or disproving the viability of the entire system. When we step back, we see the complete architecture. Mission feeds into initiation, flows through formulation, anchors in implementation, and results in precise execution. We can trace a single piece of market reality as it is ingested by the SWOT filter, modeled by the scenario planner, and emerges as a successful tracked metric on the balanced scorecard. This rigorous architecture scales uniformly. It dictates strategy for multinational global e-commerce deployments just as effectively as it does for small and medium-sized enterprises, and the process operates on a continuous loop. The final performance metrics generated in the implementation phase feed directly back into the next round of initiation data gathering. Launching a social media initiative or an online storefront without building this underlying structure guarantees you will be operating blindly against competitors who aren't. It is only through this rigorous pipeline that e-commerce applications can be formulated, mathematically justified, and accurately prioritized. Ultimately, business strategy requires perfect mechanical alignment between what you want to achieve and what you actually execute. Dominating the digital marketplace is an exercise in structural discipline. The businesses that win simply engineer the most efficient strategic pipelines.